Today, we would like to demonstrate how to complete your account setup after transition to Holbie. Upon account transition to Holbie, your regular login to holisticbilling.com will transition to provide login credentials to the Holbie environment. You will be provided the new Holbie portal URL and practice admin login credentials. Your practice administrator will log into Holbie using the practice admin account to complete setup for providers and users within your environment. Log in using the practice admin account and password provided post-transition. Upon login, you will see the Practice Administrator dashboard. Proceed to the Settings tab in the far upper right corner. You will be presented with three tabs on the far left, the first being Facility, followed by Provider and Users. Click on the Provider tab. Under the Provider section, you will find the providers transitioned to Holbie from the previous enrollment. For demonstration purposes, our providers are listed as first, second, and third provider. Provider information is carried over during transition, and there is no immediate need to make changes to this section. Should you note a missing provider, you will need to contact support. Next, we will need to set up and establish users associated with each of these providers and any additional office staff as necessary. Proceed and click on the Users tab. Within the Users section, you will see the list of users. For demonstration purposes, we are using first, second, and third provider along with the practice user. Each of these users must be assigned a valid email address. Users in the previous portal are not required to have a valid email address. We transitioned the user as a shell account with a temporary email address for you to complete by assigning a valid email address to each user account. It is important for the email to be a valid email address to which communications may be directed for that user. The only exception is the practice admin account, which uses the email account from the previous enrollment for holisticbilling.com. You may choose to change the practice admin email as well, or reassign the email for the practice admin account to another account. However, all emails within the Holbie must be unique. You may not repeat the same email between users. Identify the user you wish to edit and locate the Edit action icon on the far right column. Here we will choose the first provider record. Click on the Edit action. With the user record open, please verify the provider to which this user should be associated. Generally, you should be able to identify the provider with the user name that was provided when the shell account was transitioned. If you need to change the provider, simply select from the drop-down list the appropriate provider matching the user. And most importantly, edit the email provided for this particular user. Remember, the email address must be a valid email. The one currently represented for this shell account was simply assigned as a temporary shell or temporary email and is not valid. Users may use their own email or one assigned under the company email policy. While on this screen, you may wish to change the user password as well and assign one easy for them to remember. It is important to note that once users log into the system, they are also able to change their own password at any time. You may also decide to complete additional information for address, city, state, and zip code. Included phone number and fax as necessary. Remember, the address information is not required for the user. This is optional. Verify the account status is set to active. And then complete by updating the account. Notice here the email address has been changed for first provider. At this point, you will need to make sure to communicate this information to the user and have them attempt their login and provide feedback should they have any difficulties. Repeat the same steps for each user as desired. Please note, you may change the practice administrator email as noted earlier. If you do, please remember the email address for this admin account, as you may need that in the future. Please be sure, again, to communicate any changes to the appropriate user. They will need to know the email assigned to the account in order to log in, and of course, any password changes. You may log out using the logout option in the upper right corner. And this concludes our demonstration on how to complete setup after transition to Holbie.